Hey everyone, it's May, and welcome to another episode of the May Lee Show. Good to have you. I know it's been a while, and I seem to be taking my time in between episodes these last couple months. Just been busy and just kind of dealing with stuff, and now with the holidays. But this gave me the incentive to actually do this episode because as we all know, there's a lot of craziness going on in the world still. Now we have this new variant called Omicron of the COVID-19 variant that came out of South Africa. So we're learning more about it, quickly, but still we don't really know what that's all about. So that has people on edge. We have, anti-Asian hate crimes still going on. And now all these smash and grab robberies going on all over the place. Definitely here in California, it's crazy. Groups of people are just smashing into stores and just raiding it and completely stripping sometimes the store completely of all of its valuables. So that's insane. There's a lot of I guess not so good stuff going on, a lot of darkness. So I decided, oh, you know what? It's also the holiday season. Hope that everyone had a nice Thanksgiving. And holidays is about trying to celebrate and being more joyful and being happier and, being about family and friends and gatherings. Well, safely, of course. So I wanted to do an episode that kind of kickstarted all of that. And so I am a follower of someone on Instagram, Subtle Asian Baking. And she puts out the most delicious looking desserts and baked goods that have an Asian flair to them. And the woman behind it is Kat Lieu. And so I really wanted to get her on the show to talk about sort of how she started this whole thing with Subtle Asian Baking, because she's not a professional baker, but she wanted to start introducing the idea of Asian baking and how to use Asian ingredients and celebrating Asian sweets that we all love and many of us grew up with. So I decided to do a holiday baking kind of show, but also to talk to Kat about the origins of Subtle Asian Baking and how she has also gotten involved in AAPI support and fighting anti-Asian hate, one cake at a time. So it's a great story. So I was able to talk to her just recently. So here is that episode. Hi, Kat. Welcome to the show. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too, May. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. Well, I'm really excited to talk to you because I do love the idea of baking. I love watching other people bake. I love baking shows, but I don't bake that often. But tell me your baking story because I read a little bit about you that, you kind of baked on and off, throughout your life, but you realized that Asian baking wasn't something that people did. You didn't even think there was like Asian baking. So tell me about the evolution of your sort of baking history.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the longest time, I didn't bake. The only baker in my life, truly a baker, was my grandma, who I only get to spend time with her during my childhood in Montreal in the summers.
Okay.
So I remember her baking a cake for me for my fifth birthday, and I helped out. I like to tell people that I baked my first cake when I was 4, but it was really
Oh,
just cracking some eggs for her, dropping some eggs and so forth.
okay.
But her cake was just so memorable. It's something that you want every birthday, even when you're like in your 30s, 40s, no matter how old you get, right? It was creamy. It was a chiffon cake. It was fresh. It was beautiful and snowy and so forth.
And
And
so
my grandma
wait,
was
so Kat, it was like a Western style cake though, right?
it's more like the ones that you find in like tous les jours or like Paris baguette and so forth, or
Yes.
like the Asian bakeries.
Got it.
So it's exactly like those Asian birthday cakes that you get during Asian
Right.
birthdays,
Right.
right?
Right.
But with a little bit of French flair, because my grandma wasn't classically trained, but she grew up in Hanoi, where there's a lot of French influence in the cuisine.
Ah,
So she
okay.
learned from restaurants and bakeries that her family They were the landlords to these tenants who owned all these bakeries and restaurants and so forth.
Okay.
So she was the only baker in my life. I only got to spend time with her in the summer. My mom kept all her pots and pans in her oven, so we
Okay.
rarely ever baked. It was
Right.
pristine in 2009 when we sold it. It was a house of like 20 plus years,
Okay.
pristine oven. And I never had a big enough space on my own to like start baking. So I never made cupcakes or cookies from scratch. And I didn't know like I'm always impressed when coworkers bring like cakes in and cupcakes and so forth.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I moved here to Seattle, Washington area in 2017 when I started finally baking. First, of course, the banana bread, then some cupcakes, then trying macarons. And then I said, I miss, all these Asian bakery goodies,
Yeah.
right? And Asian bakeries are so far from me. I have to drive like at least 10 to 15 minutes to get to any one of them without traffic.
Right.
So I said, let's start baking the Asian way, right?
Yeah.
And I was looking for recipes online, and you see a lot of recipes, but they're all scattered on different websites. I wanted one place where you could find all these recipes and you can ask people about like, how do I make a coconut bun?
Right.
And I guess that's where my group Subtle Asian came about. Subtle Asian
Yeah.
Baking came about.
So, and I remember reading something on one of the websites that said that, growing up, you, of course, just didn't think that Asians baked at all. I mean, except obviously the story of your grandmother, but, I mean, you're right. I connected with that idea. It's like, yeah, I didn't bake when I was a kid with my mom. It's not like we baked chocolate chip cookies or
No,
brownies. It's not a very Asian thing to do. And so we were kind of like programmed to think that there weren't really Asian baked goods or Asian good sweets like that, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
now, of course, there's this whole sort of discovery of Asian baked goods and Asian bakeries everywhere that are so popular. So it's really cool to see that. So tell me that how Subtle Asian baker came about, because I know that you sort of developed that in May of 2020. So during kind of the height of COVID and quarantining, right?
Yes. So absolutely. I mean, growing up, of course, we went to Asian bakeries, but I always noticed that, only Asians visited these
Yeah,
bakeries.
exactly.
Not the case nowadays, right? Now, like Asian food is very popular, it's hip and so
Right.
forth. But like back then, I wasn't always like, I guess it's just a kid in me. I wasn't always proud of it because you had a scallion bun and none of my classmates would ever eat something like that.
Right.
Or even an egg tart. I've never seen any of my other classmates eat that. I was like the only Chinese girl growing up in my elementary class
Yeah.
from first grade all the way to fifth grade. I was the only Chinese girl, right? So like
I can relate to that. No Asians in, when I was
no
growing
one
up
else,
too.
right?
Yeah. So it was
Yeah.
all
And then
totally
how it
foreign to
came
them.
about was again, like I used to live in Brooklyn where you would walk out onto a street on 86th Street and Bay Parkway. There'll be like an Asian bakery every other block,
Mm.
right? But now in the Seattle suburbs, the closest bakery, there's only one. It's
Okay.
11 minutes drive away. So like of course during COVID, you don't really want to go out and buy things all the time, right?
Right.
You want to stay home, especially during early COVID. That was last year around March to May 2020 was when I really, really started baking a lot more. I was also back from a trip from Japan in February 2020, right when everything started exploding, and I was
Yeah.
remembering all these amazing Japanese goodies that we had during our trip.
Yeah.
So I was like, I really want these recipes. I really want to connect with other bakers. I want to hear their stories, their insights. They must be missing like all these trips across Asia, right? They must be like missing goodies from like their favorite Asian bakery, right?
Mhm.
So I thought this is where this community should come in, right? To
Yeah.
really connect people, to build a network, and then have people who are nostalgic for these goods and who want to make them at home, have them connect there and
Yeah.
have them, have this resource there for them.
What do you think it is about baking that makes everyone so happy? I mean, like I said, I'm not so much of a baker, but there's something about baking and even just watching people bake that just like makes me feel good. you know?
Absolutely, because it's magical, right? You
Yeah.
have a few ingredients that don't really add up to much by
Yeah.
themselves, but once you like put them all together with this exact science of baking, and then you bake it in the oven, and it comes out like it smells great. It makes your whole kitchen smell like a bakery.
Yeah.
Your people's faces light up when they eat your food, and you get that sugar rush too. I think it's a magical experience, and
Yeah.
especially if you could do it with your family, like when I could bake with my child, my boy. I have him bake whenever we can.
Yeah.
I think all of it together makes baking such a joyful, happy, and heartwarming experience.
Right, right. Now, have you found baking in an Asian way, so with an Asian style, and then also building this community of other Asian bakers? And also, you say it's not just for Asians, it's for anyone who wants to join, right? That it has given you sort of empowered you in some ways, or like allowed you to identify more with your Asian heritage and your background?
I think so. I think it helps me connect more with people who have similar backgrounds.
Yeah.
And also, I don't want this to be an exclusive community.
Yeah.
I want people to feel welcome. It's a diverse and inclusive community. I don't want people to yuck our yum. We have
Yeah.
people who, it's okay if you don't like durian, but
Yeah.
don't say let's throw it in the garbage can.
Right.
Things like
Right.
that. Appreciate it and understand why other people can appreciate it. Right.
Right.
Pandan extract can make food this grinchy color. For some people it might be appalling, right? But we want to show them, like, no, it's actually a beautiful color in food. Like, look at these beautiful cakes that we make. The honeycomb cake that's made with pandan, it's a beautiful lime green. And especially during the holidays, you can make like grinchy cookies with pandan extract, right? So I want people to, like, people love boba.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone loves boba. People love sushi and things like that. But then some other things like maybe kimchi or soy sauce, like you'd never think that you could bake it into sweet good, but you can, like
Yeah.
gochujang and miso and things like that. So I want people to really appreciate all our beautiful ingredients and flavors that you
Yeah.
could find across Asia and now like very easily online and across your supermarkets, not just in your ethnic aisles and so forth. So I think part of the reason why this group feels so empowering too is we could spread that message,
Yeah.
right? So like, don't yuck our yum, appreciate it, don't appropriate it, and it's just wonderful. Try it, bake the Asian way.
I love that little phrase, don't yuck our yum, because we've seen in the past where there's like this full food elitism, right? Of sort of Western, maybe Western cuisine being looked upon as sort of more elite than Eastern cuisine, right? And so that's a great lesson to kind of try to spread across the world, because there is still this dividing line of what is acceptable and then what seems like, ooh, God, no, yuck, gross. I would never try that. So that's great that you're trying to do that through baking. And I love the fact that you're using gochujang, because I am Korean. And gochujang, for those of you who do not know, is the red bean, the red paste, the red pepper paste that pretty much Koreans use in almost everything, and it's very spicy. So when I saw that you use that in some of your baked goods, I'm like, how does she use that? What do you use it for?
So anytime I make chocolate, anything, I like spicy. My family loves spicy. My 8-year-old loves spicy chocolate. So I put it into like a flourless chocolate cake,
Oh
put it
my
into
God.
brownies, put it into chocolate cookies, and it just gives this like spicy kick and a bit of umami, and it's just really addictive.
Wow. Okay, I'm totally going to try that, because I would never think to put gochujang in something baked that's supposed to be sweet. But that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to try that. Well, let's talk about the fact that you have used also this platform that you've created to, again, empower Asians, but also support AAPI organizations and movements, right? As most of us know, what we've been dealing with for the last almost 2 years now with all the anti-Asian hate. So you decided that you needed to do something and do your part. So you've had some of these interesting bake-offs online with different, home bakers. So tell me about that effort.
Yes. So we run a lot of bake-offs that are virtual and global, so anyone can join them as long as you bake something that has an Asian ingredient, a technique like steaming or boiling or however like an Asian baker would bake.
Yeah.
Or you could use an inspiration or a twist. It could be an anime theme and so forth. And then people get to show off their incredible work. I feel like they keep upping their level of creativity with each bake off. And
Yeah.
like during Halloween, we had people bake a lot of Squid Game theme
Oh,
bakes. It was really, really cute and
Wow.
so forth. One thing I'm super proud of this year was from March to April 2021 when we had a global Bake in Solidarity bake sale. So bakers from
Oh,
across the globe in Subtle Asian Baking were invited to host and run bake sales where they would donate proceeds to help stop Asian hate.
oh,
And we
wow.
were able to raise over $15,000 and we donated all the funds to Welcome to Chinatown,
Wow.
which in turn was able to fund a bakery um, called Double Crispy in New York City's Chinatown, and they were able to help their sales because they were able to create custom mooncake boxes during Mid Autumn Festival to sell their mooncakes.
Okay.
So part of the fund went there. Another part of the fund went to giving out a lot of hot meals to neighbors in need, older adults who live in New York City, Chinatown, and just, spread the love and spread the word of, we have to stop Asian hate now.
Yeah. Oh, that's
That was something
amazing.
that we were truly proud of. And I think we're going to do that every year, like some
That's
sort
great.
of bacon solidarity fundraiser every
That
year.
is great. That is great to hear that and to see that it was so successful. And as we again know, it's still happening. And I
Yes.
keep on saying this to people. It hasn't stopped. We're seeing these incidents still weekly, sometimes daily. It's still happening. It hasn't gone
Yes.
away. And we can't turn a blind eye to it. We cannot ignore it. We can't think that it's been solved because it hasn't been. So we have to continue talking about it, fighting the good fight, making people aware, and doing your part. Any little thing makes a difference. And look at you, Kat. I mean, you're just a baker at home, but then decided to take it upon yourself to create this community and empower others to use their skills or their hobby and to do something about it. And
Yes.
that I think is such a great example of like how an individual can make a difference.
Yes,
So
absolutely. I think we can't stay silent about this. This is a topic that's very close to my heart because I feel a lot of the older generation might turn a blinder eye to it because they don't understand the language. Because I've seen it in New York City when I was growing up.
yeah,
We'd have Asian hate against my parents, but they either turn a blind eye to it or they don't really understand, the things that people would say to them,
right.
or they don't want trouble, right? And so myself, growing up, I also faced a lot of hate where I was from,
Yep.
and it's very traumatic. And you remember this, even though now I'm in a relatively more safe community and I don't see this anymore. I only see like maybe microaggressions and
Mhm.
things that make me mad, like when people make joke and they're non-Asian and they said they're making better kanji than real
Yes,
Asian kanji.
we
That
all
makes me really
we all
upset.
remember that woman, the kanji lady, right?
Or the Maj online, those things make me really upset.
Yeah.
But there hasn't been any attacks against me personally in the recent years, but I still remember it growing up as a kid.
Yes.
It never leaves you. It's a scar that's forever in you. So
Yeah.
I don't want my son to ever face this. I don't. So that's how I feel like individuals. Yes, you could do this, and now that I have this platform, I want to raise awareness and make sure that moving forward, all this hate will stop.
Yeah. Well, we got to keep at it. We got to keep at it. So I'm glad that you are part of the effort, Kat. So thank you so much for all of your efforts. All right.
Yay.
Now let's talk about the really get to the good stuff, which is that you actually have some baked goods, some of your creations that you're going to show us. So
Yes, absolutely.
let's see them.
Yeah. Okay, so this one is not as attractive on screen,
Okay.
but
Oh,
I didn't make this, but this is a chocolate bark. Of course, it's my absolute favorite thing during the holidays to eat, but I think it's really easy to make. It's just chocolate and white chocolate and some peppermint, and add some miso for an umami kick. So I'm going to
oh,
try that recipe soon.
okay, cool.
This is a cookie. It's a triple chocolate dark cocoa cookie.
Oh my
So I
God.
put a melted marshmallow on top, lots of chocolate, white chocolate and dark chocolate, and then peppermint candy, crushed peppermint candy. So
Oh,
this one's a little old because I baked it a few days ago because
oh,
I was sick from my Moderna booster. I'm
oh
sorry,
no.
but
Okay.
it
Well,
still
good.
looks fresh. So
Wait. So it's
it still looks
it's
pretty good.
triple chocolate, you said?
Yeah,
Wow,
triple
look at that.
chocolate.
It's like almost black. Okay, so what goes into it to make it so chocolatey like that?
So it's just dark cocoa, just
Okay.
exactly the same thing that Oreo uses. So black cocoa.
Oh, okay.
So it makes it like that black. So
Yeah.
like you could do a fun holiday theme thing where you make like dark cookies that look like coal, and
Yeah.
you're naughty, you could have a lump of coal and so
Oh,
forth.
that's
I just
cute.
love like melted marshmallows. It just makes all your bakes like look really nice. So
Yeah.
it's like melty.
And I
Oh,
love
that looks good.
the peppermint chips on top. That's nice.
So this
Very
one's really
holiday.
good because it's chocolate and mint just goes so well
So
together.
well. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, and of course there's miso in that cookie to make it a little bit umami-fo. I love that word.
Yeah.
And so for breakfast, I think some blue milk is really pretty.
What? What is it?
So it's just oat milk with blue spirulina. Or you
Oh,
could use butterfly pea flour instead and to make it blue. And
okay.
if you squeeze a little bit of lemon juice into butterfly pea flour, then it'll turn lavender and it's just healthy and delicious. So
Wait,
I
I've
really
never
like
heard
that.
of butterfly pea flour. I have
Yeah.
no idea what that is.
Also an Asian ingredient that I
Oh, it
love
is?
putting into my cookies and so
Okay.
forth.
Okay.
And finally, this is, I guess, one of the easiest things to bake would be a Bass cheesecake.
Oh my
And I
God.
love gold, so if you want to like gift it to a friends or family, just put like gold foil onto your cakes.
Wow.
It just looks so good, and it's so easy to make. You just throw all your cheesecake ingredients into a blender,
Okay.
right? And then let it set for a little bit so the bubbles will subside. And then you pour it into your pan and just burn it in very high temperatures for like 20 to 25 minutes. You get a beautiful caramelized top and then a beautiful creamy interior. So I'll cut into it to show you.
Oh, please do. Is this kind of like the typical like Japanese sort of fluffy cheesecake style?
No, this one is actually originates from Spain, but
Oh, it
it's
does.
it's
Okay.
very popular during like COVID time. It's been popular for a while because it's so easy to make
Really?
and
Oh
it's
my
so
God.
delicious. But you could definitely find this across like a lot of Asian
I mean,
bakeries
it's so
across
funny that
Asia because
it's so
it's
funny,
just so
Kat.
easy to make. But people actually sell these for like $30
Oh
for
my
like
gosh.
one cake.
No, it's so funny that you're saying like everything is so easy to make, and I'm like, I don't think it's gonna be
This
easy.
this one, I assure you, May, this one is one of the easiest ones to make. I
Really?
assure you.
Okay. And why the
This
paper?
one I made it into a matcha flavor. I thought I brought
Oh,
up my, so let's see how creamy it is on the inside.
oh, and it's the matcha color. Oh my God, that looks so good.
Matcha greens. It's super creamy
That looks
and super
so
delicious.
good. Okay, I have a question about
Yes,
the parchment paper. Is that parchment paper?
yes.
Okay, you use that because it just makes it easier, or like, is there a difference?
I think it's because it gives it that rustic, beautiful look.
Ah,
And you
okay.
don't want to use any other types of paper because this is the only one that doesn't really burn in high temperatures and it
Right,
doesn't stick to your cake. And
right.
then it also gives you that beautiful,
That crinkly look.
that yeah, that rustic,
Oh, yeah,
kind of
that's
ugly,
nice.
beautiful look. Some people say this looks
No.
like filet mignon.
No, actually, it looks nice. It almost looks like a little like package, like a little present.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think it's gorgeous. So
that looks yummy.
I'm gonna give you a bite.
Oh yeah,
Here you
let me
go.
taste. That's super
Ten
yummy.
seconds.
Oh, that's great. Wow. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Anything else? Is that it? The three?
Yeah,
Yes.
I was like
Oh
so
God, that's
sick this weekend. I
I'm
would have made more.
well, you got the booster. That's good. I got the booster
Yeah.
about over a month ago. So, but I've had no side effects from any of the vaccines I've received. So I've been okay. But well, thank you for sharing those great little treats. But okay, so that leads me to the fact that now you are coming out with a book called Modern Asian Baking at Home.
Yeah.
Okay, now this takes me back to how I found you. I knew about you and your Instagram because I always would look at your photos and beautiful recipes. But then you posted this video on Instagram not too long ago where you were crying because you were going to be publishing this book. And you had said in this Instagram that back in 2000, I believe, something like that, people told you there's no way anybody would be interested in Asian baking or knowing anything about Asian baked goods. And so they really sort of just dismissed you and your idea. And now you're about to come out with this book. So tell me how this all happened and what this means to you.
Yes. So in the early 2000s, I was, your parents want you to go into healthcare, right? My
Yes.
parents wanted me to go into healthcare. Very typical Asian story.
Yes.
They knew I was always afraid of blood. So the only type of healthcare I could do is physical therapy, where I don't have to see that much blood. Of
Okay.
course, as a physical therapist, you have to know about surgery. So I had to go into a lot of surgeries where you actually see a lot of blood and, fainting aside and so forth. So, right as I was about to graduate, I believe I also wrote like a manuscript. So it was actually about Asian American females, heroines. So I love writing rom coms, and I thought, let me give this a shot before I graduate. Maybe I could show my parents and everyone else that I could be a writer. That's my true passion. I do love physical therapy, but I will see blood, and that's not what I really love. So I wrote the manuscript, got a literary agent, everything was going fine. And then my agent dropped me for personal reasons. And then I had a writing mentor who also told me, like, Kat, this is about an Asian American, an Asian girl. It's not going to sell this book. This book is not going to sell, right? So I figured, I was like, you know what? Let me try anyway. Let me just ask publishers myself, query them. Heard nothing back, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, I could have tried harder, but I guess I was on the path of, let me just, like, give it one more shot, self-publish, and then give up this dream, right?
Okay.
So I self-published these books, and then just went on and had a day job, right? Because everyone says, Asian American characters won't sell. A writer doesn't make any money. You
Mm,
can't do this. You have to be stable. You're on the path of becoming a physical therapist. So I was like, okay, fine,
yeah.
let's just do it, right? So 13 years passed. I've been a physical therapist, right? I was still doing work as a physical therapist in the school district when I created Subtle Asian Baking, and then got, like, a publisher come seek me out with this email that looked like spam. At first, I wasn't gonna
Oh,
respond, and then
okay.
he said, "Are you working on a book?" And I'm like, "Well, I've always wanted to work on a book. What are you looking for?" And then it just one thing went to the came one thing led
Led
to
to
the other,
another. Yeah.
and then we got our book now, Modern Asian Baking at Home. 10 years
Wow.
in the making, from being told that Asian culture won't amount to any sales or anything to, now writing a full book on Asian baking.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? You know,
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's such a great story in, persistence, but also, sometimes when you're told no, right? That can really screw you up,
Yeah.
right? It can really, and I think so many of us growing up have been told no, or we can't, or, it's because you're Asian, so you shouldn't. All of these messages that have maybe, you know, um, prevented people from pursuing a dream or pursuing something
Absolutely.
that they really wanted to do, but society or, they were told, no, you can't. And so this is, a brilliant story of like, well, actually, yeah, you can. It might take a little time,
Yep.
but for the fact that it's come around full circle like this and that it's going to now turn into a reality is pretty incredible.
Yes. Yes, May, I agree. And I do feel that perhaps we just need to work harder, right? I feel that's the dream is there, but for someone like me, I always felt that you just have to work harder for that dream, but you can
Yeah.
achieve it, right?
Yeah.
But it's just not easy. You can't just go in a straight line. I feel like it's an eight, right? The
Yeah.
infinity sign.
No, you're right. You're right. And I think that's the reality, unfortunately, that we're still in a situation as, people of color in this country where we're still seen maybe as not to the level that they want, or, there's still some discrimination, racism, whatever you want to call it. And so, yes, maybe we do have to work harder. Hopefully, it is getting better in certain industries, across the board. Let's hope, right? Media, entertainment, things like that. We're starting to see more representation. I know I was told by my parents when I wanted to go into journalism and on television, they're like, no, you can't. You won't be able to do this because you'll be competing with all of these, Caucasians, and they
Yep.
won't want you. And sure enough, I did have to work harder. I did have to work harder. But I'm hoping that we're blazing the trail for others to follow where it won't be as hard,
I
right?
agree.
And the fight is worth it if we can clear the way to make it easier.
You're right, May.
Yeah, absolutely. So when is this book coming out? Because it's on pre-order right now, right?
Yes, it's June 2022.
Okay. And so it's going to be a collection of your recipes, but also sort of you're aggregating other recipes too, right?
Yes, so all the recipes that I love and would love to eat and would love to make, inspired by the Subtle Asian baking community. So
Okay.
our group, the Instagram, and so forth, remade and retested our way, and just hopefully it'll inspire other people to bake the Asian way.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Is there anything that you would like to bake that you haven't, or a baker or somebody that you would like to bake with? Any sort
Oh,
of
I would
fantasies
love to
like that?
bake croissants
Croissant?
with one of our team members in Subtle Asian Baking, William Learn.
Uh-huh.
I call him the croissant king. And then I would love to also make lots of character macarons with macaron queen Celinda.
Oh,
Her Instagram handle is macanomnom. I think
okay.
a lot of our members are like macaron masters too. So croissants and macarons are things that I'm still working on. I have macarons down with a
Okay.
Swiss method. So
Huh.
that's a pretty foolproof method. My French method is not that great yet, so I could still work on that. And I'm still worried about croissants. So that's the next
Okay.
frontier.
First of all, I didn't even know there were different macaron styles. And secondly, croissants, I've heard, are very difficult to make because of the layers and layers and layers
Yep.
of pastry, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good luck to you on that. I won't be joining you in that pursuit, but I would be happy to taste them once you make them.
Oh my god, I should just mail you some goodies.
Oh my God, I would love that. I would love that. But your Instagram always makes me so hungry whenever I watch your videos. I'm just like, oh God, that looks really good. So,
It also helped me gain a lot of weight.
oh well, but it's happy weight. It's happy weight. All right, one last question for you before we go. Holiday baking, holiday treats. I know you just shared some, with the cookie and stuff, but can you give anyone tips on holiday baking or just baking in general during because everybody does up their holiday baking, right, during the holidays. So any tips you can share?
Yeah, definitely. Don't stress yourself out and don't try something new if you don't have time,
Yeah.
right? Stick with recipes you already know. You could change it up a little bit. If you want to give someone a thoughtful gift, like maybe a cookie tin box, there's a lot of recipes on Subtle Asian Baking on cookies that you could
Mm.
build your own, like, holiday tin box. The batch cheesecake, super easy to make. If you've never made a Japanese cheesecake, don't start during the holidays.
Okay.
It'll stress you out,
Oh
right?
no.
Start maybe after the holidays and perfect it, because that's a cake that's pretty hard to make, I have to say, because you really have
Oh,
to beat the egg whites the right way, right? And then fold it in the right way. It's all takes practice and technique and so forth.
okay.
Yeah, so don't stress out. Bake from the heart. Have
Yeah.
fun. Make something yummy. Your friends will not be upset with you if your cake cracks a little bit. Hide
Okay.
it, hide the cracks with some confectioner's sugar. Just have fun. Don't take it so
Yeah,
seriously.
baking should be fun. It should be a
Yeah, just
pleasure.
enjoy it.
Yeah. Okay. I have one personal question. So
Yeah.
during Thanksgiving, I decided to make homemade pumpkin pie because I had a fresh pumpkin. The pumpkin part was fine. It was the crust, making the pie crust. I made it 3 times and never got it right. And you would think it would be very easy because all pie crust is flour, butter or shortening, water, and salt, right? I couldn't get it right.
Did you rest it in the fridge a little bit?
No, is that what you're supposed to do?
Yeah, after you make it, you want to rest it in the fridge a little bit. But you can never go wrong with just like a ready-made pie crust.
Uh,
That's what I still use.
Listen, I tried. I went to the stores twice and they were
Exactly.
completely sold out. Yeah, so clearly other people, are smarter than me and they got their pie crust early,
Yes,
to make
yes.
it.
I
But
get them like a month in advance. Or
oh,
another easy one,
geez.
just crush graham crackers.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
That's
crush
yeah.
them, pulse them, put some butter, and then par bake it for like 5 to 10 minutes,
Okay.
and then put your pie filling on top.
Oh, yeah, I'm a failure at pie crust. I've realized.
Oh,
I'm like, no, I can't do this again. But the pie
it's not.
itself was very good. So,
Yeah. Not
okay.
my favorite either. I go with like ready made whenever I can, like even
Okay.
with cheesecakes and so forth. So I
Okay.
get you.
Good to know. If the baker is getting the ready-made pie, then I don't have to make my own damn pie crust. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, Kat, it was so lovely to meet you, and I'm so happy for you, and I love your journey thus far. It's a great story. But we will stay in touch. But can't wait for the book. Got to wait until June. But keep baking. I'll continue to follow you on Instagram and share your Instagram handle with everyone so they know.
Sure, absolutely. It's a subtle Asian dot baking. I also have a website, modernasianbaking.com, and you could actually pre-order the book right now. It actually
Right.
really supports underrepresented authors, especially your POC and your Asian female authors. If you could pre-order now. And May, I'm a great fan of yours, so I'm so honored
Oh.
to be here. So thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you, Kat. It was great to meet you, and yeah, keep on baking and doing the work that you're doing through your baking. It's really, really great.
Thank you so much, May.
Okay, happy holidays.
You too. Happy holidays.
Okay, I can't wait to actually try to start experimenting with some of the ingredients that Kat talked about, especially the gochujang, the red pepper paste. That is fascinating to me. I would have never thought to use gochujang for anything but something savory like a stew or, some marinade in Korean food. So, got to try it. Hopefully you guys got some good baking tips as well from Kat, and I look forward to seeing more of her great baking work online and in the community. All right, well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. And if you don't already, please follow the show on YouTube, subscribe to it, and follow me on Instagram, The May Lee Show, Facebook, Twitter, and wherever else you can find. Oh, podcasts, of course, on all major podcast platforms. Okay. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy. See you next time.